Come on. You do.
I know what to say.
Where's Arpana? Oh, there she is. Could you give her the harmonium? This young lady over here. Look at that. It's small here and it's big there. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Well,
Okay.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Vijana Palabha Girikuna His divine grace, Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada ki, Gaura Premanandi. Okay, well, this is unusual. My screen is small and this screen it's full. It's okay, but it's weird. But it's okay. Weird is okay. At least you can see it. So, part 2, or continuation of yesterday evening, which was a continuation of the Sunday program. So the topic of Bhakti Rasa is continuing, and the first of the 4 Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya, 4 primary rasas or sthai bhavas. This is Dasya Bhakti Rasa. And of course, the most outstanding representative of that is Hanuman. So we're going to speak a little bit about Hanuman. Hanuman's as an ideal personality to point to. Here's Srila Prabhupada speaking from Nectar of Devotion. All of these subjects in the Ramayana seem very pitiable. That's a secondary rasa. Pity or sorrow or sadness and they may appear very distressing to the reciter or the audience, but actually they are not. Otherwise, why would Hanuman, the great devotee of Lord Ramachandra, read daily about the activities of Lord Ramachandra as described in the Ramayana itself? The fact is that any of the above-mentioned 12 transcendental humors of devotional service, everything is transcendently pleasing. That is to say, these emotions that are on the spiritual plane, they're not material emotions, or say it the other way. The tendency is to think of the emotions on the spiritual plane to be like emotions on this plane. They're not. I know of a devotee who I was visiting the Potomac Temple one time, and in Potomac they have 3 altars, and one of the altars is Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman. And he said, I can't go in front of that altar because he feels so sad, because he grew up hearing Ramayana and couldn't take it because it was so sad. So he can't look at the Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman altar. It makes him sad. But the good news is it's not sad. It's not that kind of sad. But they said it's a variety of ecstasy. And that's the whole idea of Bhakti Rasa. It's a variety of ecstasy. Here's a very nice verse from Padyavali. Quiz question. Who's the author of Padyavali? Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami, right? Yeah, yeah. It's his text. So here's a verse, and you'll recognize the voice. If you don't, I won't embarrass the reciter. You see that little horn over here? This is recorded, embedded recording. Gosh, it's not working at all. Let's see what happens. The cursor isn't showing. Let me try this. I'll probably mess up, but there it is. All right. So let's see what happens. Here's the recording of this verse. Oh, Govinda. There we go. Let's go back. One more time.
Shri Vishnu Shravane Parikshit Bhavan Vaiyasaki Kirtane Prahlada Smarane Tadangri Bhajane Lakshmi Prithu Pujane Akrurastva Bhivandane Kapipate
Dasyeta Sakyejana Sarvasyatmakvedane Balirabhut Krishna Shampara. Now the image that you see on the right, these are different rasas. And according to the different rasas, there's a different name. And here's the translation from Padyavali. Parikshit is an example of hearing about the Lord. Shukadev is an example of chanting the glories of the Lord. Prahlad, an example of remembering the Lord. And Lakshmi is an example of serving the lotus feet of the Lord. Prithu is an example of performing deity worship of the Lord. Akrura is an example of attaining perfection by offering prayers to the Lord. Hanuman is an example of service with the attitude of a servant of the Lord. Arjuna is an example of friendship of the Lord, with the Lord. Bali is an example of offering the self to the Lord. They, these 9 personalities with the 9 processes of bhakti, achieved Krishna by following principally one anga. Now Hanuman achieved Ramachandra, but that's Krishna. So we are going to focus on the essence of Bhakti Rasa. There's terminology which we've already stumbled a little bit with yesterday, and don't get hung up on the terminology. It's important, but for a later point in time. That is, when you become familiar with, you've become familiar with how to drive a car. Once upon a time, probably didn't know how to drive a car. And you started to drive a car, and it was like, she hasn't done it yet, but the day will come. One day, you'll learn. And it's awkward. Or riding a bicycle. Do you ride a bicycle? Okay. So riding a bicycle, it's awkward. But, after you become proficient at riding a bicycle, it's motor skills, you don't have to think about it. And then what to speak of, when you're learning about rasa, if you become familiar enough, and then you pick up this subtlety and that subtlety, and then there's further subtleties, and Ujjwal and Ilamani, your head will spin. And there's details and details, but it's rasa. Maybe a better example is cooking. And very, very expert cooks know how flavors can be modified by this and that and the other. And one who knows about cooking, by tasting the cooking, they can tell you what's in that preparation, what spices and what this and that. Just today I was reading My Glorious Master by Burijan Prabhu. And Prabhupada was visiting him in Hong Kong. And he had hit the previous place he was in, they ran out of mustard oil. So he uses mustard oil for massage. So he requested Burijan to get some mustard oil. Simple. So he went to an Indian store in Hong Kong and got mustard oil and gave it to Prabhupada. Prabhupada opened the top. He's in his gumsha. Opened the top, placed a little bit on the back of his wrist, and smelled and said, "This is not mustard oil." And Burijan, by mistake, said, "But Prabhupada, I just bought it, and the jar said mustard oil." 3 times Prabhupada said, "It's not mustard oil." And then Prabhupada explained, he scolded him or chastised him, was training him. Some people cheat. They say something on the label and the inside is something else. You people are from India, probably never had that happen in India. But there are vendors that don't tell the truth. It's not mustard oil. And then later Burijan did some homework and found out he had been cheated, or he had been misled. His intention was good, but misled. So at a later stage, we'll have the capacity to, by knowing and learning and hearing, and initially it's awkward, but eventually it becomes something that's very tasteful. So here's the example. You saw this same photograph yesterday. Here we go again. There's an orchestra. Supposing somebody attends a symphony and they don't know about music so much. They make something, nice sound, but somebody that's very accomplished musician, very expert, this player, that player, the other player, and they know the other musical instruments. What to speak of a conductor that knows all the musical instruments. A good orchestra has refined taste to it. And there's much more relish or rasa in one who knows music well. Thinking of some persons in the room that know music well, and the experience for them is different. And there's an objective besides, you have more enjoyment or more rasa in reading transcendental literature, where the descriptions are there of Krishna and Krishna's interactions with his devotees. But then it's also on the personal side. What's our relationship with Krishna? And refinements and embellishments and different moods at different times and different circumstances. So there's finer aspects of our relationship with Krishna also, that by understanding this science, which is a little awkward at first, for sure awkward, our own inclination towards Krishna becomes more clear. And then it can be further refined by hearing Krishna Katha. Because like using this example of the ingredients. Here's the ingredients example. No, we're not doing it. Different devotees have a different mood of service. And when you're hearing the devotees that have a different mood of service, this is moving in the rasa topic, then some particular narrations touch your heart more. And it resonates with you. And then when you find that, make note, literally write it down, or make a mental note, and assess, read it again and read it again and read it again, and assess what is it about this that inspires you, or your mind becomes naturally attracted. Here's a little. Sometimes I'm hesitating to go there. Sometimes devotees would speculate, what's Prabhupada's primary rasa? And there's different ideas. He didn't disclose. He gave hints from time to time, but he didn't disclose. He didn't even in most confidential dealings with different devotees. But there are many times when Prabhupada very much appreciated, but a transcendentalist can appreciate all the loving exchanges with Krishna. But Prabhupada had a lot of appreciation for the cowherd boys. And at the same time, Prabhupada had profound appreciation for the conjugal rasa. Anyway, I won't go there. That for us, rather than speculating what was Prabhupada's rasa, what's our rasa? What's that mood? And when you find something, then you follow that thread and read about it and treat it as a special mercy that Krishna is extending to you. Keep thinking about it, being attentive in your japa, and then over a period of time, see if that continues, sustains, and something very special and precious may arise. And if it's not so, you leave it and move forward. But this is a very practical. These are steps that give some hint is given in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And study Bhakti Rasa. So from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there's two primary types of dasya Bhakti Rasa. That's our topic for this evening. Two types. One, and when someone acts as a servant of Bhagavan, like Hanuman, who is serving Ram. And then serving Ram means serving the servants of Ram, but he was serving Ram. Or Bibhishan, or Lakshmana. You're going to have to be able to see up here. So I suggest you don't sit right there, because then you won't be able to see up there. There's lots of space, but you won't be able to see. Okay. Servant of Bhagavan. There's a nice Sanskrit phrase. Sam Brahma Priti. Or a second type of Dasya Bhakti Rasa. When a devotee is a child or younger relative of Bhagavan and serves Bhagavan just like a child serves a parent. Now this is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This is a division or characterization of two types of Bhakti Rasa. Hanuman is in the first category. Now it doesn't say who's in the second category. Who's in the second category? We'll find out. Yesterday, so this is the nomenclature again. Two types of vibhavas. There are four bhavas, and the first is vibhava. It causes the emergence of rasa. This was one of your questions. It's a cause. And the cause of two types. alambana as an adjective, vibhava. So the personalities involved in the emergence of rasa, that's Bhagavan and his devotees. We had a little discussion about what about cows? They're also devotees. But yeah, it's in this primary relationship. Just like when Krishna's herding the cows or herding the calves. He's with the cowherd boys. That's like they're his loving associates. And then the cows kind of tag along. They're attached to Krishna. They're attached to the cowherd boys. The cowherd boys are attached to the cows. Like the Kali Lila. It's a nice example. In the Kali Lila, it was summertime. In summertime in Vrindavan, really hot. And on this particular day, the cowherd boys were going all the way from Nandagram and came straight. Mother Jasoda told them, don't go to Kalia Lake because it's poisonous. She knew. And they went to Kalia Lake. And the cows led the way because the cows went in the front. And the cows were so thirsty, they drank from the water of the Kalia Lake, and they died. And when the cowherd boys saw the cows died, they wanted to give up their life because the cows were so important to them. They entered the lake also. They were also very thirsty, and they died. Not like just fell unconscious, they died. And then Krishna came along. They were ahead of him. Anyway, and Krishna saw the scene of the cows and the cowherd boys upside down, dead. So he glanced over them, brought them back to life. It's a really nice pastime. And then the cowherd boys were looking at each other like, what happened? Well, not like that he had become unconscious, but they, in their discussions amongst themselves, we died. How did this happen? We're back to life. The lake, poisonous lake, the notorious poisonous lake. No fish there. The birds flying over the fumes were so bad, they would fall into the lake dead. It was a notorious bad place. 8 miles long was this contaminated water area within the river, but like a lake. So anyway, there's details of how it formed a lake. That is, normally river water keeps moving, and so if there's something that shouldn't be there, it gets moved downstream. But this had a particular boundary-like facility so that the water didn't move freely. And so over the long period of time, became very contaminated. So back to the discussion of Bhagavan and his devotees. These are personalities directly involved in Krishna's a rasa in relation with Krishna, and then everything else that nourishes the emergence of rasa. So a little sharing. This morning, at 3:30 this morning, I had a Zoom call with the Chinese devotees because it's like 16 hours difference. So the topic was Shukadev Goswami. The topic, there's a series of topics of personalities from first canto Bhagavatam and starting with Shukadev. So when Shukadev was born and he left home when Krishna made his promise, you won't fall prey to Maya, he just left home. And Vyasadeva wanted his son, he knew his son was qualified. He wanted his son to become the qualified speaker of this Bhagavatam that he had composed. But he left. So he came up with a very, intelligent and creative way, he sent disciples to go into the forest looking for Shukadev and just reciting verses. And one of those verses was from 10th Canto, Chapter 21, just describing Krishna with his peacock feather and the complexion of his body was like a karnikara flower, and playing upon his flute. And the description was so sweet, not material, that Shukadeva Goswami, who wasn't attracted to anything material, became attracted to the description of Krishna's form. It's on the screen. Anything else that nourishes the emergence of rasa. Bodily features of Bhagavan. And it's a type of vibhava, udipana, it's a stimulation of that ecstatic love. Just a description of Krishna's form, or his pastimes, or his paraphernalia, his flute, etc. So that's what we heard yesterday, and now taking that principle and applying it to dasya bhakti rasa. And this characteristics of the dasya bhakta, there's 4 characteristics. Again, this is Rupa Goswami. Well-behaved. Prashrita. Always ready to follow orders. Nirdeshavasa varti. And according to their inclination, they're given services. They're trustworthy. Once they accept a service, they carry out that service. And they're aware of the position of Bhagavan as their master. And they're always, before their master, they remain in a humble mood. These are 4 characteristics of dasya bhakti rasa. So, for example, because Hanuman is our primary example, here's a nice verse from Brihat Bhagavatamrita. Even though liberation destroys the bondage of material existence, Hanuman says, I have no desire for liberation, if I would forget that you are the master and I am your servant. Now, there's many, many places where that same mood or statement is made. Probably some of you can think of some nice examples. I'm thinking of some nice examples. When the personality of Godhead offered to Prahlad some benediction, the reply was, please don't tempt me like this. Because there's nothing between you and me other than I'm the servant, you're the master. That's it. Dhruva similarly. Dhruva had engaged in Vishnu Bhakti because he wanted a kingdom. He not just wanted a kingdom, he wanted a kingdom better than his father's kingdom, better than his father's father's kingdom, better than his father's father's father kingdom. So there. And then when he was ready to get a benediction, please don't tempt me. There's nothing between us. I didn't do it. A servant is one that doesn't do something to get something. They do something for the pleasure of the master. That's the mode of dasya. I don't want liberation. They're free from the entanglement of material existence. If it means forgetting that you're the master and I'm your servant. Liberation, the other type of liberation is not with I'm the master, I'm the servant and you're the master. We're one. I am Brahman and the absolute truth is Brahman, and it's all one. Because I've let go of the material conception of life. So, 4 types. This is straight again from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or Nectar Devotion. There are 4 types of dasa, the servant. And someone is given a specific service. We're going to give some examples from the life of Hanuman. He was assigned some specific service. One of those services was take this ring and find Sita. So he is a very specific service based upon qualification. Hanuman was most qualified. He got that explicit service. Ashrita, and they've taken shelter of the personality of Godhead. These are the places where these scriptural references are found. Now, as you see, there's a whole series of verses, 10 verses, that explain this one principle. So we're not going through all of that, but you can do that if you like. Those who have surrendered to Bhagavan and have taken his shelter. Then there's a third. They're eternal associates, or they become associates of the eternal associates of Bhagavan. Parishads. Uddhava is such an example. Uddhava. So you all know who is Uddhava. Uddhava was constant companion with Krishna, except for he wasn't with him in Braja, except he was sent by Krishna to go to Braja to carry his message to the gopis. But he went from Mathura, when the time that Krishna reached Mathura, to the time Krishna departed this world. They were together, associating with Krishna in the mode of service. And whenever there was service, there was Uddhava ready to do the service. Parishad, Uddhava. And then those who attend to Bhagavan's direct personal service, Raktak. So he's found in a number of places in Krishna book or in the 10th canto Bhagavatam. He's one of the cowherd boys, but he has a particular mood, this anuga mood. And when there was an opportunity for some personal service, there's Raktak, ready to do that nice service. So here's an example of Lord Ramachandra giving a specific service. The painting is depicting it. He's hanging his personal ring, his signet ring, giving it to Hanuman, knowing because he trusts him. And when you find Sita and she doesn't know if you're representing me, show her the ring. She'll know the ring. And she'll know it's my ring. And so she'll know that you're representing me. So here's a verse from Tulsi's Ramayana, here we go.
परसासीस सरोरुह पानी कर मुद्रिका दीनि जन जानी बहु प्रकार सीत ही समुझई हो कही बल बिरह बेगी तुम आई हो.
Shri Ram stroked Shri Hanuman's head with his lotus hand, and recognizing him to be his devotee, gave him the ring off his finger. Comfort Sita in various ways, and return quickly. After telling her of my might and the agony of my heart due to separation from her. So the messenger with the message and the entrusted service. And sure enough, he was the right person to entrust, because he very determined. Like this whole Sundarakanda is, not the whole, a major part of Sundarakanda is this fulfillment of that instruction. And despite distractions and obstacles and this and that and the other thing, he stayed fixed on the mission and knew how to deal with different obstacles and circumstances and how to very expertly not startle Sita, because the very scary situation she was in, and how is she going to trust him? So he's very intelligent, emissary of Krishna. And the fulfillment of that mission, finding Sita, and when he recognizes that it actually is Sita, Hanuman sheds tears, born of sheer joy on seeing Sita Devi with captivating eyes, and saluted Ram, a sign of Raghu on that happy occasion. So it's Bhakti Rasa. Now, he's mission carried out with obstacles. That's also a type of rasa. And then meeting the obstacles and being carried by the personality of Godhead beyond or the other side of the obstacle, and supplying the intelligence and the strength and the ability and all those. It's all, an unraveling of the dimensions of Bhakti Rasa. But he's, Dasya Bhakti Rasa. Nice example. So, Udipanas. There's alambana and there's udipana. Receiving Bhagavan's mercy, receiving Bhagavan's foot dust, receiving Bhagavan's food remnants, associating with Bhagavan's devotees. Each of these are stimulations of that ecstatic love, or udipanas. Receiving Bhagavan's mercy. Here's a nice example. This is again Tulsidas, Ramcharitamanas.
सुनि सीता दुख प्रभु सुख अयना भरि आए जल राजीव नयना सुनु कपितो ही समान उपकारी नहीं को सुर नर मुनि तनुधारी प्रति उपकार करो का तोरा सनमुख हो न सकत मन मोरा सुन सुत तो ही उर्न में नाही देख करि विचार मन माही पुनि पुनि कपि चितव सुर त्राता लोचन नीर पुलक अति गाता.
Now, supposing you are an elevated devotee, close your eyes and imagine you're an elevated devotee, and you're hearing these Ramayana verses. They're meant to be sung, and sung again, and sung again, and sung again, and so that it, and the meaning because it's the language that you hear it again and again and again, and then it starts to seep in. The rasa starts to seep in. So this is the rasa of Hanuman receiving the mercy of Krishna. The mercy of Ramachandra. When Hanuman, comes back and reports his experience to Lord Ramachandra and gives the ornament from Sita to Ram, just as he had given the ring, the ornament of Sita, so Ram would know, yes, this is Sita's ornament. He found Sita. And so how is he going to repay that sacrifice that was made by Hanuman to find Sita and reaffirm Sita? Ram will come. He just needs to find your whereabouts. So here's the translation. When the all-blissful Lord heard of Sita's agony, tears rushed to his lotus eyes. To Hanuman, no one is endowed with a body, demigod, human, or sage, has put me into such obligation, O Hanuman, as you have done. Even my mind rinks to face you. How then can I repay your obligation? Listen, my son, I have thought over the question and concluded that the debt which I owe you cannot be repaid. Again and again, as the protector of the demigods, gazed on Hanuman, his eyes filled with tears, and his body was overpowered with a thrill of emotion. So, Bhakti Rasa. And, with Hanuman as the one that's bringing that happiness to the personality of Godhead. Remember the topic that we discussed on Sunday? Remember that one? That Bhakti, here it is again, for a refresh. Bhakti, or Bhakti Shakti, is an expansion from Krishna. But from what aspect of Krishna? Krishna's Ladini Shakti expands into the living entity in the form of their devotion for the Supreme, so that the Lord has the happiness of his own intrinsic happiness. He's Atmarama. And layered on top of his own Atmarama is an expansion of his own Ladini Shakti, is passed on to a living entity. Living entity now inspired to do some service, does some service, and the unlimitedly already contented, happy person, Supreme Person, his happiness increased. And that's what's being described. Bhakti Rasa. But Dasya Bhakti Rasa. It's really nice. It's a nice science. It's much better than the science I studied in 8th grade science class. Then there's outcomes from that cause of rasa, vibhavas. So here's anubhavas, voluntary external actions by the devotee which express the emotions situated within their heart. They start dancing, singing, breathing heavily, smiling, drooling. That's an advanced stage. Rolling on the ground. Now, we heard, we can hear it again. Supposing you're not feeling such an ecstasy, what should you do? Dance anyway. And by dancing, so it happens in the company of devotees. Devotees dance. It can be, but some devotees are really happy and ecstatic dancing. That was how the Hare Krishna movement began. And then the question came to Prabhupada, what about if I don't feel that ecstasy? Should I dance? And Prabhupada said, if you dance, you feel ecstasy. There's a sadhana for feeling ecstasy. That's, being with devotees, sadhu sangha, who are in ecstasy. And they're experiencing this anubhava. Specific for Dasya Bhakti, or Dasya Bhakti Rasa, there's 4 specific anubhavas. Being completely absorbed in serving Bhagavan according to one's capacity, always. Always, 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 always. Vakreshwara Pandit, is that a nice example? Some of you know from Chaitanya Charitamrita, there was a nice devotee, one of the Lord's eternal associates. His name was Vakreshwara Pandit. He was an expert dancer. Expert means he would dance and dance and dance in ecstasy for 24 hours, leaping in the air and twirling and, but not just like, display of his showmanship. But he was in ecstasy. Vakreshwara Pandit. So associate with Vakreshwara Pandit and you'll start dancing. Prabhupada had a disciple named Vakreshwara Pandit, Das, and he was a really good dancer. He was a good kirtan performer too, but he danced and danced and danced. And when he danced and danced, everybody wanted to dance and dance. To be with Vakreshwara Pandit dancing and dancing. friendship with Bhagavan's servants, having zero tinge of envy on seeing the excellence of the service of other servants. That's a specific anubhava, the absence of envy. Being fixed in the mood of loving service. So these are, according to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, these are characteristics of anubhava for the Dasya Bhakta. Here's an example. He, Hanuman, had no envy of Bharata. He had great admiration for Bharata. Although Bharata was sad, more than sad, he was despondent because of what his mother had done and sending Ram to the fort for 14 years. And he was disgusted. And then he was determined to bring Ram back, and Ram said, "No, we have to follow the order of our father. I can't come back for 14 years." So he was double sad. But then he did what he did. So we're going to hear what he did. This is what he did. And when Hanuman found him, because when it was time, the 14 years were over, Ramachandra is in the Vimana flying back to Ayodhya, Pushpaka Vimana, and he sent Hanuman ahead, supposing after all these 14 years, Bharata is now attached. Fantastic. Let him become the king. Let him remain as the king. But find out if that's the situation. And if so, fine. So that was Hanuman's mission. He's good at taking a mission and fulfilling it. So when he saw Hanuman, when he saw Bharata, he saw the mood of Bharata immersed in his loving relationship with Ramachandra, anxious like anything for Ramachandra to return because the 14 years was up. And he had committed, if he doesn't come back at the end of those 14 years, I'm going to enter into fire and give up my life. So here's what Hanuman is speaking to glorify Bharata, and the love that Bharata, a particular type of love, according to his Rasa with Ramachandra, has his brother.
देखत हनुमान अति हर्षेउ पुलक गात लोचन जल बर्षेउ मन मह बहुत भांति सुख मानी बोले श्रवण सुधा समबानी जासु बिरह सोचहु दिन राति रटहु निरंतर गुण गण पाती रघुकुल तिलक सुजन सुखदाता आयु कुशल देव मुनि त्राता रिपुरन जीति सुजस सुर गावत सीता सहित अनुज प्रभु आवत.
And the translation? At this sight, Hanuman was overjoyed. Every hair on his body stood erect, and his eyes rained copiously. He felt gratified at heart in every way and addressed Bharata in words that were nectar to his ears, speaking about Ramachandra to Bharata. He, in whose absence you sorrow day and night, the catalogue of whose virtues you are incessantly recounting, the glory of Raghu's line, the delight of the virtuous and the deliverer of the demigods and sages has arrived safely. Ramchandra has returned. Having conquered his foe in battle with the demigods and singing his praises, the Lord is now on his way with Sita and Lakshmana. So there's Hanuman embracing Bharata and Bharata embracing Hanuman. And there's he as Hanuman is very happy to be the bearer of such a message on behalf of his master, Lord Ramachandra. And finding Bharata in this situation, sad, filled with sorrow, day and night, and now he's back. And what does that do to his joy, to Bharata's joy? His heart is bursting with joy when he was just before for 14 years in great sorrow. The rasa, the dasya rasa of Hanuman is fantastic. And here's a similar but different message from Brihat Bhagavatamrita. The painting is Hanuman sees Narada Muni. And when Hanuman sees Narada Muni, he's a great, great devotee. He's very joyful. Hanuman's heart was absorbed in special sweetness from speaking about the Pandavas, with his joy raised higher by Narada's dancing. He continued to speak about the topics. So there's the context. The context is this is part 1 of Brihat Bhagavatamrita. Narada is on a quest. And the quest assignment from the sages was, who is the greatest recipient of the mercy of the Lord? And so Hanuman is pointed to when he goes to Hanuman. I mean, several steps in between. And Hanuman says, no, no, no. I'm separate. I live separately from the Supreme Lord. The Pandavas, they're constant associates of the personality of Godhead. They're the most exalted and wonderful associates and recipients of the mercy of the Lord. So he goes on and on and on describing the glories of the Pandavas. And as he's describing the glories of the Pandavas, Narada Muni is dancing just by hearing the glories of the Pandavas. So he goes on narrating further. Another Brihat Bhagavatamrita reference, glorifying the Lord with various excellent prose and poetry, verses of his own, and also reciting prayers from the scriptures, he, Hanuman, repeatedly offered respects, falling like a stick. So these are voluntary behaviors that are symptomatic of his ecstasy that he's experiencing from within. So different ecstasies may touch a devotee's heart, and Hanuman is one such devotee. You see what we're doing? We're taking the topic from yesterday on what Sthai Bhava is and the different other bhavas that accompany Sthai Bhava that mix together and make for Rasa, Bhakti Rasa. So now here's the Dasya Bhakti Rasa. And there's Sattvika Bhavas, involuntary, external transformations that occur in the body when the heart becomes overwhelmed by emotions in relation to Bhagavan. The internal manifests external. There's the cause, and then there's the effect of that cause. Transformation, bodily transformation. Paralysis, like stunned. Perspiration, hair standing on end, choking of the voice, trembling, changing color, tears, fainting. Examples of Hanuman from Brihat Bhagavatamrita. Listening to the nectarian Ramayana recited by Gandharvas and other celestial singers, Hanuman was in ecstasy. His limbs trembled while he was covered with goosebumps, or hairs standing on end, and tears. So transformations on the bodily platform from something that's going on subtly inside. And then vyabhachari bhavas, voluntary or involuntary, internal or external, actions or transformations that provide distinct contrast to sthai bhava, yet nourish it. What's that? Self-disgust, feeling remorse, thinking oneself unqualified. No humility, but expressions like that. Epilepsy, sickness, fear, joy. Now, these are symptoms that you look at them from the material lens or on the material platform, and it's a material emotion, a material event. But where do those material events and emotions come from? From the spiritual platform, and devotees like Hanuman may exhibit some of them. Here's a little example. Vyabhachari bhavas for dasya rasa, there's 33. We heard this yesterday. And only 24 are suitable for dasya rasa. And here's the list. 3 plus 3 plus 18. 6 plus 18. Makes 24, right? Good math. Is that right math? You sure? Okay. Union with Bhagavan. 3 types of vyabhachari bhavas. Pride, joy, steadiness. When there's union with Bhagavan, then the bhakta, the dasya bhakta, may experience joy or pride or steadiness. Or when there's separation from Bhagavan, there's 3 categories of vyabhichari bhavas. Debilitation, sickness, death-like symptoms. That's extreme, but there be. And then remaining 18 manifest in either one. So here's a nice example. See, it's a very nice illustration. Hanuman looks really sad. And he has been unable to find Sita. And he searched, and he went here, and he went there, and he searched, and he couldn't find Sita. So this is Brihat Bhagavatamrita. Prahlad speaks to Narada Muni. It was Hanuman who encouraged Mother Sita. And by the Lord's order, this Hanuman, the one true recipient of his master's favor, still lives in this world, though unable to bear separation from the Lord. That is to say, that's an ecstasy. But when Ramachandra returned to the spiritual world and took with him all of his associates, he told Hanuman, stay behind. No, he wanted to go. It's like, a little bit, not the same, but a little bit like Krishna saying the same thing to Uddhava. Uddhava, take me with you. You're going to leave. Take me with you. He didn't exactly say that, but it was mood. And Krishna understood, and he said, well, I've got some service for you. One of the places that I didn't go during my pastimes, I didn't see Narayan Rishi and the sages in the mountains. So please go and you be my emissary in my behalf, you give my association. He didn't say no, but it was no. So he's feeling separation. He wanted to be with Krishna. Hanuman wanted to be. So there's another side to that same mood, and that was he's in ecstasy, just singing the glories till to the end of the day of Brahma. So there's a sadness and there's an ecstasy. That initial painting is he's just chanting the glories of Lord Ramachandra, and he doesn't need anything else. He's got his associates. He's got his musical instruments. He has the thought of Ramachandra. He's blissful. But there may be another turn the dial a little bit, and he's feeling sadness and separation. That's what it's being described here. Or nirveda, self-deprecation. If I were the Lord's servant, then why would he forcibly abandon me when he took with him to his spiritual kingdom his dear devotees, including Sugriva? Because he, Hanuman, was the minister of Sugriva. And he took Sugriva, but he didn't take me. And all the residents of Koshala. So it's not self-centered, it's an emotion centered on the lovable personality. And therefore, it's a mood. It's a mood of bhava, of ecstasy. Self-deprecation, mood of ecstasy. Sounds like a contradiction, but it's not. And in the realm of transcendence, there are such things that appear material, but they're not material. Here's Hanuman contemplating suicide. If I do not find Sita, Janaka's daughter, I shall enter the waters for good. So one description is enter fire, and the other is enter the water, drown himself. For this way of departure from this world has also been recognized by the rishis or seers. Such is my belief. So that's an ecstasy, contemplation of suicide. But he didn't, and it's not. It's a swing in the direction of very intense separation and mixtures of emotion, wishing to fulfill an instruction and being unable to fulfill the instruction. I'm pausing. I'm thinking about a more contemporary situation. This is about Hanuman and his mood of dasya, Bhakti Rasa. But there's a very nice narration. Maybe some of you are familiar with this nice narration. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur had a place of residence near Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in Radhakund. And he, Vishwanath, heard from the great Kavi. And in his writings in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj describes the Gopal mantra as having a certain number of syllables, and including a half a syllable. And he, Vishwanath, being scholarly and also having deep affection for Krishnadas Kaviraj, wanted to understand what the mystery of what's this half a syllable. And he chanted and he prayed and he tried various means by which revelation would come, and no revelation came. What's this half a syllable thing? So he was so fixed and absorbed in getting that understanding. When the understanding didn't come, he decided, what's the use of my life? A suicide thought. I'll just sit here by the side of Radhakund and fast till death. Because what's the use of the body if I can't use it in service to Krishna this way? Now, most of us aren't going to get in that intense kind of feeling because we don't understand a certain point in philosophy or scripture. But that was Vishwanath. So he decided to fast till death. You know the story. Many of you know the story. So he was fasting by the side of Radhakund. And Radharani came to him and explained to him, Vishwanath, don't worry. Krishnadas Kaviraj didn't just make it up. There's a particular book in the library here at Radhakund, and he found this description of a literary circumstance where something may be considered a half a syllable. In the morning, when the sun comes up, go to the library, go to find such and such book, and in such and such book you find the answer. That's where the half a syllable comes from. So, don't give up your life, please. Do not fast till death. Radharani saved his life. And then in the morning he went, and sure enough, it was in the book that Radharani said it was in. But that's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. We don't have such adhikar, qualification like him. But being inquisitive, maybe some of you have had this experience of being inquisitive and pursuing something, and there's no answer. You don't give up, but it's not revealed. It's not being revealed to you. And then some time passes, and then voila, there's the answer. You had that experience before? It's not a very responsive audience. I've had such an experience. It's like, oh, that was Krishna. Krishna was hiding, and then Krishna disclosed. Because it was already there, just, behind the curtain or something like that. And you move the curtain. Oh, there it is. Okay. So Hanuman has such a mood. And he has this mission, this service given to him, and he must execute it. It's his life is dependent upon. His life is dedicated to, and therefore dependent upon. So here's some recap on Sthai Bhava. So Sthai Bhava is the yogurt before the condiments go in it, their ingredients go in it, and then there's the ingredients. So now we're going back to Sthai Bhava, the unflavored yogurt. Sthai Bhava is the primary pleasurable mood of bhakti towards Bhagavan. It's already there. It's within the heart. And when the heart becomes softened, it makes the heart soft. And when it becomes more prominent or accentuated, it becomes revealed. With desires to meet, serve, and exchange love with Bhagavan. It controls the secondary. Primary controls the secondary bhavas, like anubhava, etc., etc. And then there's these four. Now we're almost done. And here's Sthai Bhava for Dasya Rasa or Dasya Bhakti Rasa. Executing service of Bhagavan. He's my master. I have great respect. We don't become informal. It's always with some degree of formality, at least not acting in the friendship way or the familiar way, like the cowherd boys would do with Krishna. They would play with Krishna and steal Krishna's lunch and climb on his shoulders, and they weren't familiar. The cowherd boys were familiar. How can I serve my master best? And there's always some agitation in the heart that how can I do this properly? How can I do it better? You just learn to live with that feeling. It's not. It's maybe uncomfortable, but it's an ecstasy. And from Valmiki Ramayana, here's a description of the Sthai Bhava of Hanuman. And there's 3 verses from Valmiki Ramayana. How should I act to ensure that the purpose may not be frustrated? How should I guard against thoughtlessness? How I wonder, should I ensure that my leaping across the sea does not go in vain? This is contemplating how to speak to Sita properly so it doesn't mess up everything. How indeed should I ensure that Sita listens to my speech and does not get perturbed? Pondering thus, the wise Hanuman made the following resolve. Singing the praises of her praiseworthy spouse, Sri Ram, of unwearied action, I shall take care to not frighten her, her mind being absorbed in her aforesaid Lord. A little awkward translation of the aforesaid Lord, but the meaning is clear. He is just the servant of Ram. And how does this, finally, how does this bhakti, one's own bhakti sthai bhava arise? Strong sadhana bhakti. Hear about Bhagavan. Seeing and serving Bhagavan or his deity form. Receiving lots of mercy from Bhagavan and maybe from your past life. This life and or the past life. This is from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So it's there, but covered, just like we have an eternal relationship with Krishna, but forgotten or covered. And it can become manifest or awakened or prominent. And here's some simple references that this little composition has been taken from. And we're about ready to finish. So I'm looking around the room and it's, wow. There's a lot of devotees that are eager to hear topics about Krishna. It's just, whether this was the best topic or not the best topic, as it was the selected topic. And we tried something to express about Bhakti and then Bhakti Rasa and then Hanuman's Dasya Rasa. The same sequence can be followed with the other three rasas. And they're all ecstatic. There's like this lamentation that unable to find Sita, for example. It's this negative emotion, but it's not the material kind. Material kind is debilitating. The spiritual kind is exhilarating. Such that when he did see Sita and he wasn't sure, is it Sita? And he was examining and this and that and exchanges that he heard with that Ravana came and did what Ravana did, and he heard the whole thing between Sita and Ravana. That's her. Looking with a garment that's not properly kept. She's a princess, and look at this, and he has feelings. But he found her. And then the contemplation of his mission, how to fulfill the mission. It's rasa filled. I mean, there's a storyline, but it's rasa, and Hanuman's a key bhakta in the rasa of Ramayana. Others, but he it's a whole kanda, just Hanuman. He's a very important personality. And Dasya Rasa is an important personality for anyone. If you're not, that's not your sthai bhava. But if it'll help you to explore and understand, etc., from the proper simple mood of service. Simple mood of service. Krishna should be pleased, or Ramachandra should be pleased. He has a mission for me. He's given me this service. And you just stay fixed regardless of what happens on that service. Okay, I'm going to end. Let's see if there's some discussion. Yes.
Thank you for a very sweet class. Hearing the mood of Hanumanji is always very inspiring. Thank you for that. Uh, Although it is like you did touched upon on slide number 36, definition of Rasa. Can you please elaborate a little bit more the difference between Sakhya and Dasa Rasa? Because Arjuna also acted on the instruction of Lord Krishna. Uddhava also acted on the instructions, but one is considered as a friend, another is mentioned as Parisad or Dasa.
Okay. I mean, it's like a nectar devotion question. You know, it's fine. It's fine. Mixture of rasas. No, they're mixtures. So it's not. There's this bucket, and there's that bucket, and there's that bucket, and there's no fluidity between this bucket and that bucket. It's this or it's that. So it can be some where it's compatible. There's some compatible. So there's the persons that you mentioned, Arjuna and Uddhava and others that have friendship with Krishna. That it's not like there isn't the mood of being the servant of Krishna. It's just it's layered, you could say, or it's a mix. It's not. I'm only your friend, and I won't do any service, please. It's it's a blend in a wholesome way. They like for example, when Arjun didn't want, and when Krishna explained, he was ready because Krishna wanted. That's it. Now you could say, did he want as a friend, or did he want as a servant, or did he want as both friend and servant? Yeah. The prominent is one, his friendship, but there's also the mood of being the servant, and when Krishna indicates he's ready. Okay? And that's the servant. The indication from the master, that's it. Others? Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
I go.
I was just trying to understand the definition. It's a voluntary action.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between somebody is that versus somebody literally because of
What does involuntary dancing mean? They got a twitch, and so they start dancing?
for specifically for dancing, maybe I can't obey.
Ah, so following vidhis of sadhana bhakti. That's an external voluntary behavior, but it may not be born or arising from ecstasy. But by the sadhana, it may become, there may be feelings connected with the sadhana. That's a nice example. When new people, let's say, mom and dad are trying to teach their son or daughter to pay obeisances. So they pay obeisances. And the son or daughter sees them paying obeisances, and so they may pay obeisances. Sometimes parents take the head of the child and push it to the ground like they go. But if it's done in a voluntary way, then it's nice, and the voluntary may lead to something that's arising from ecstasy by doing and doing and doing. Then it becomes a natural joy comes. Same with dancing. In a kirtan, and when there's dancing going on, some people stand to the side. Some people see the joyful mood of the devotees dancing, so they come and join the dancing. So voluntary may create something that's more on the spontaneous side. And so part of it is sadhu sangha, and then with that association of others that are doing similar things. Deity worship. A child may watch their parent or someone, an adult, somebody, doing deity worship, and they want to do. It's voluntary, but they want to move their hand like they're ringing a bell, and move their hand like they're offering some incense. And anyway, yeah. There's imitative that can become very, very natural, and thus voluntary in that sense. Without the fullness of realization, but sadhana and practice. When it's purposeful and it's proper, it's in alignment with standard activity, then purification will come. Yes. Maybe that's the solution. Just remain silent, and eventually somebody will feel uncomfortable enough they'll raise their hand.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for a very insightful explanation of Dasya Rasa. In one of the slides, there was a reference of Prahlad Maharaj speaking to Narad Muni about...
Could you turn that speaker towards me? Because I'm having a hard time hearing.
There was a reference of Prahlad Maharaj speaking to Narad Muni about Lord Hanuman, but I thought Prahlad Maharaj was from a previous yuga. So should we consider this as a different Mahayug of the same Kalpa? This conversation?
Could you hear what he said?
On the slide where you showed statement by Bhakti Muni.
Yeah.
How can he chronologically understand because events occur?
Well, no problem. And there's different ways of how the no problem can be explained. Here's one of them. How long is Hanuman going to remain in Kim Purusha Varsha, or in this worldly plane? How long is he going to remain? Till the end of the day of Brahma. But the events were way back there. But he's still there, singing the glories of the personality of Godhead. So long after Ramachandra left and Hanuman's still here, Narada pays him a visit. He's speaking of events that took place long ago. And he's speaking here, in this case, he's speaking of the Pandavas. That was also long ago. But, Hanuman, has love for the personality of Godhead, and he has love for Krishna as he has love for Ramachandra. So he has love for the Pandavas because they have love for Krishna. And as Hanuman was speaking about the Pandavas and their love for Krishna, he started feeling ecstasy. And as he was feeling ecstasy, Narada Muni was hearing him narrate and feeling ecstasy and started dancing. So if it's a chronology question, it's not a problem for that reason. Hanuman lived long after, still living, long after Ramachandra's pastimes concluded. No problem. Does that answer the question? Yeah.
I think the question is about Prahlad Maharaj and Narada Muni's conversation, not about Pandavas.
Slide where God is speaking to Narada.
I'm not sure which slide he's speaking about. Which slide is he speaking about? Prahlad Maharaj, to do it again. My brain is not connecting.
So Narada Muni are finding of Hanuman. Understand events, pastimes, of different ages.
Slide 32. Thank you very much. He's got the master slide sheet. We'll go. Keep going. This one? Okay. Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Sri Prahlad said to Narada Muni. Sri Prahlad said to Narada Muni. It was Hanuman who encouraged Mother Sita. And by the Lord's order, this Hanuman, the one true recipient of his master's favor, still lives in this world, though unable to bear separation from the Lord. So what's the problem? Prahlad is telling about, speaking to Narada Muni about Hanuman. What's the difficulty? I don't understand the difficulty.
Yeah. So, my understanding was Prahlad Maharaj was in Kritayug.
Prahlad Maharaj is what?
Prahlad Maharaj was in Satyug.
Okay.
And Hanumanji is from Tretayug, which is after Satyug.
Oh,
So,
that's your
wondering if it's from the
question.
Mahayug of the same Kalpa.
Okay. So then, it's the same thing. Which Satya Yuga? Out of how many Yuga cycles, which Satya Yuga? For example, the pastimes of Ramachandra's appearance happens during which one of the 71 Yuga cycles of Vaivasvata Manu? 4 Yuga cycles ago. You follow? This when does Krishna appear? The 27th Yuga cycle of the 4 Yuga cycles, the number 27, and Vaivasvata Manu. And when does Ramachandra appear? Number 24 of the Yuga cycles. No problem. So I don't have the answer specifically. Which Yuga cycle did Lord Nrsimhadev appear and then rescue Prahlad of the 71 Yuga cycles of Vaivasvata Manu? But it's not, somehow without having that mathematical calculation, it's not a contradiction for Prahlad to know about something that happened with Hanuman. One can assume it happened after, because otherwise how would he know? Or Prahlad just happens to have knowledge that he where did Prahlad Maharaj get his knowledge from? From the womb of his mother. He heard from Narada Muni. And Narada Muni isn't limited to any one of the Yuga cycles. So you learn from hearing. And so that there's multiple ways of answering. That seems like what to you is a stumbling block, because chronologically, how is it possible? Because Satya Yuga is when the Prahlad and Nrsingadev happened, and now here he's having a conversation with Narada Muni about Hanuman that happened in a different yuga.
Understood, Maharaj. Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj, for the. I had a quick question on Anubhavas when we were talking about like one of the Dasya Rasas character were mentioning was like having zero tension.
Having zero sense of envy, right.
In following that, you gave us an example how Lord Hanuman looks at Bharat Raj, like when he comes back, how much sad he was.
Yeah.
And like I just wanted to understand that. So in that moment, one did not feel any fear at all. Like,
No.
although Bharat Maharaj was even sad, and
So I'm not clear what you're not clear about, because Hanuman has because of admiration for Ramachandra, he has great admiration for his other three brothers, as he has admiration for Ramachandra, and Bharata is very special. He was the one that Kaikeyi wanted to become the emperor, and he was not going to do it, even when Ramachandra said, "No, I won't do it." And your shoes will be the emperor, and they'll worship your shoes, and they'll sit on the throne. And so he was of a certain mood, and Hanuman had an understanding even before he came to this ashram and found him. And sure enough, that was his mood, and so he was bringing good tidings. He is on his way, and he's about to arrive. Haribol. So that's the ecstasy, and he had zero envy. That here's a person that his mother wanted him to become the king, and he's saying no. He had no envy of his saying no, or because he was just love for Ramachandra. How can there be envy? No envy. But it was another mood of love between the two of them. It's Rasa. Bhakti Rasa. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So I have a non-technical question.
And really?
In the beginning of the class, you were talking about how we can, find our connection or mood. And there was one comment made that we should listen carefully, see what touches us, make notes,
Yes.
about it. I was thinking, a worldly fictional tale will catch my attention much more, and I will, look forward to it. Whereas topics like this, I understand listening to lectures that we should listen to Katha. We should, it's out of duty and recommendation.
Okay.
I'm thinking in terms of more practicality. Is it like repetitive, like repeating, like reading it numerous times does the job? I'm trying to say, how can I look forward to it more? And
okay.
And is there something I can do to accelerate the process?
Well, I'll give you two answers. One answer: speak to Parma Karuna about this, because he's immersed and you're not. And there's a reason why he's immersed. And one of the reasons is Rupa Goswami. And Rupa Goswami is holding keys to the heart. And if you have those keys to the heart, you can unlock your heart in a way that you won't without those keys. It's not just duty, it's a key to enter into what Lord Chaitanya came to give, a principal person through whom he came to give was through Rupa Goswami. So I like you, it's not like sawdust, but it's not juicy either for me and for you. But there's a reason why it's there, and it's why Rupa Goswami gives emphasis to it. And my gosh, there's volumes and volumes, and it keeps going. So there's something to it. He's not wasting his time or our time. There's taste, and so it enables one to have a taste for Bhakti Rasa through those keys. And so it's not just duty; it's a key. And then it's another part of your question: is it just hearing and hearing? Well, if it remains just hearing and hearing, then it remains dry or not attractive. But those things that you are attracted to, let's just say whatever those things are, studying Bhagavad Gita or hearing Krishna book or something, just hearing the pastimes of Ramachandra, that little image of knowing about musical scores and hearing a fine symphony in orchestra, then the appreciation is greatly enhanced if you do understand, as opposed to if you don't understand. Using the music or orchestra or symphony as an example. Then with that example, it's a good example, but cooking or worldly things, sports. There's all kinds of sports, and people that become knowledgeable in this sport or that, swimming or something, and then they get into it. It may not be your thing, sports or technology or artificial intelligence. People go bonkers over that topic. Some people don't really have a real attraction or affinity for that, and some people do. And that there's some advantage for those that have to hear. And so on the overall picture of the devotional service to Krishna, it's an important topic. That even it may be like sawdust or not attractive, chew it anyways. and then your appreciation of what's being narrated in the pastimes or whatever else, it becomes more attractive. Okay. There's a question online. And this is going to be our last question.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. When Srila Prabhupada said, and you will feel ecstasy, when Srila Prabhupada said, dance and you will feel ecstasy, that means dancing will be vibhava and not anubhava?
Toss a coin, heads or tails. It's voluntary. It's voluntary. That dancing in a voluntary way. Just like people, people visit our temple, and when they come to the temple, they're not familiar with what's going on. So there's kirtan. Kirtan can be sitting, or kirtan can be dancing, or standing. So when it's time for the arti, the conch blows, and everyone stands. At least they're not sitting anymore; they're standing. And then when they're standing, they may move, or they may stand still. So by association, it becomes, we stand at least that much. And then some people are wallflowers. They just stand there like a tree. And then they see some other people doing other stuff, like swaying their feet back and forth, or dancing and dancing. So, different moods. So it's voluntary. The standing is voluntary, and the moving of their feet is voluntary. And, dancing more than just moving their feet back and forth, that's also voluntary. Like the early ISKCON example was the Swami step. Right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot. You cross over the right foot, you cross over the left foot. And that was the Swami step, and people learned the Swami step. I mean, that's when I joined the Hare Krishna movement. I learned the Swami step. I didn't even know what that meant, but I learned it. And then it leads to the next thing, depending upon the individual. And some people like to just stand, and some people like to do the Swami step, and some people like to dance. Some people are pretty wild when they dance too. So, but it's in any of those cases, it's voluntary, and then it may become, a kind of ecstasy that it falls in this other category. Okay, I think that answers the question. Srila Prabhupada ki Gaur Premanandi Haribol.